Yes, good morning. Hello to everybody and welcome. I'm very excited and honored to give the opening statements for today's session. And as Alexis mentioned, I am the roadside program manager for the Washington State DOT. I'm a landscape architect, native to Seattle, native Washingtonian. I went to UW and been working for the DOT since 1985. So I've also had the opportunity to serve as the council chair for the last few years, and I've been working with the Invasive Species Council for really since it started. That was around 2006. So what I wanted to do for this morning's session is just kind of give you a little bit of context. And I wanted to, but first, I do want to thank all of our sponsors and contributors. We've had a really great team of people that have helped pull this together. And for those of you who would have been here in person, we would have been at the Great Wolf Lodge in just south of Olympia here, and been all together, and that would have been great. But this is a whole new format. This seems to work pretty well. I really hope we can get back to meeting in person because there's a whole nother dynamic that comes out when we're together in person compared to this. But here's a list of all of our sponsors, the people that have worked on this, or the organizations that have helped contribute. And 10,000 Years Institute, Jill Silver, has been one of the main instigators of this, and we really appreciate that, Jill. And we really appreciate your organization, and I love the name. We've also got Justin and Alexis from the Invasive Species Council, and the whole Recreation Conservation Office has been great as far as supporting the council over the years. Thanks to those guys. At DOT here, we've got Michael, and the research office. The webinar service that we're using belongs to our research office, and we really appreciate your help, Michael, in making this run smoothly. So thanks to that. Thanks to the agency for doing that. UC Santa Cruz might seem like an unlikely Scotch Broom university down in California, but they do have Scotch Broom down there, and we've got both Ingrid and Sarah have been really helpful in pulling this together from California's viewpoints. Washington State University Extension, you'll be hearing from Jennifer Andreas today, but that whole group of people, as a Husky, I've really come to appreciate the Cougars over the years. So thanks to Washington State University. WSDA, Oregon Department of Agriculture, both contributed. Western Invasives Network, thanks to Troy for all your help on this, Troy, and your organization. The Oregon Invasive Species Council, North Arizona University, working with Sarah on that, and then the State Noxious Weed Board, Mary Fee, has been really helpful. And then, of course, a lot of this is from a grant that we received from the National Science Foundation that made this possible. So, thanks to everybody. This is great. Get one more slide here. Go. Here we go. Try this. Advance. Come on. There we go. All right, so if anybody's seen a presentation by me recently, I use this slide. I've been using this slide for the last couple of years. I love this slide. This really sets up what I wanted to talk about this morning. Because what I wanted to do is kind of have us all take a step back here. Think about it. I mean, I know the time we're in is really very strange, a little bit disturbing, stuff that's going on in the world right now. But if you think about it, it's really making me think about my own mortality. I know it's kind of, I don't want to open with that, but really that's kind of on my mind lately. And if you think about mortality and you think about life, you think about the planet, and if you think about our planet and its own life cycle, that's kind of what I wanted to do for a second here. So let's take a step back and think where this planet, this big ball of rock and water, is in its life cycle, right? And then think about all the lifespans that have gone on and all the species that have inhabited this place. So this is our habitat. This is our site. This is the landscape that we have to work with and live in and use to build stuff. So the thing is, we really only have this one place, and it's all connected. So what we're really looking at here, and we, by the way, get to live in one of the best places on the planet. So here we are, right here, and there hasn't been human development in this part of the world for very long. And if you think about the life cycle of the planet and how much human development has gone on, what I was thinking about is kind of equating it to, you know, if you're the planet, I don't know if he's even in middle age yet, or she, whatever. I mean, basically, at some point in life, you start to get stuff happening to you, right? Whatever species you belong to, you get sick, or, you know, something comes along and smacks you upside of the head, whatever. But basically, we all have to interact with each other as species on this planet. And we all have a life cycle. So if you think about it, what are we doing to this place as we dwell here? And if you think about the life cycle of the Earth, and you think about our cities and how those have evolved just within the last couple hundred years on this planet, or 1,000 years maybe in Europe, those are like scabs, really. I mean, think about it. If you were the planet and you started to get this itch, you know, all of a sudden you realize you're covered with this one species that wasn't really that abundant before. Now all of a sudden it's here, and it's causing some major impacts to the health of the planet, right? Okay, so enough of that. What I want to really talk about is we have a responsibility, each of us as stewards of this place, to help take care of it. Not just us, I mean, it's all species together. And if you leave it up to nature, take humans out of the equation and let it go, it's going to be just fine, right? It might take a while, but the planet will be just fine. It would be a lot better off in the future if you took humans out of the equation. Just saying. Okay. All right, so let's go on. Let's talk about the relationships. Think about the relationships we all have with other species. I mean, you can think about the relationships we have with our own species, but just for a second now, think about all the different species you interact with as a person. Think about your cat, your dog, you know, whatever. Could be mosquito, you know. I don't like that species, but here they are. So Scotch broom. I think about Scotch broom, and I wonder, you know, think about my relationship with Scotch broom. If you all think about your relationship with Scotch broom, going back, you know, what's your first memory of Scotch broom? As this species, to me, I didn't really even notice it growing up in Seattle until I moved to downtown and started going to school in college. So at Seattle Pacific University, I started running Discovery Park. I started realizing that, you know, that is, if you haven't been there in Seattle, that's definitely one of the best city parks that I know of. The management of that place and what Seattle's been working on with that park and the spaces there, I got to look at that up close for a lot of years as I explored that park, really for a couple of decades in Seattle. So anyway, that's how it started. I remember the flowers in the spring, the smell, even in hot summer days, you could run through the Scotch broom patch and it would be cracking seeds, be flying off the plants, landing on the path. It's wild. But when I started working for DOT, that's when I really started noticing it. And in my first 5 years working for DOT, I commuted from Seattle. We had a house in Ballard, and we had just bought it. So we ended up living there for another 5 years while I drove to Olympia for every day. And I got to look at Scotch broom, and I that was kind of my start, you know. And I really think that, and this is one thing I wanted to say earlier, but it's all really just like a big experiment, like the planet and its life. It's never happened before. This is all like a huge science experiment, right? You can dial down on any species you want, and they all have their own story. They all have their own, you know, strengths and weaknesses and their place in this planet. All right, so I know this is a little bit woo-woo, but stay with me here, because really what we want to do is take it right down to the sites that we all have and that we can all impact. This is one that I'm working on right now. So this is me a couple weeks ago. Well, this is before it started flowering, so this might have been a month ago. But getting out there, getting on it. This is a job that I have, side job. But this client has a lot of Scotch broom on their property and holly and all the usual suspects. So we're working on helping restore this to a native condition. So I've got some direct experience. I have a very intimate relationship with this plant, and it's kind of fun to kill, I have to admit. So here's me, just known to jump out of the car once in a while on the roadside if it's safe, and just start pulling plants. So, and then I get to work on some really cool stuff too as the program manager. This was a test we did last year out on the Nisqually Cut with the Auto Mow. This is a cool little slope mower, And we cut a patch of the Scotch broom out there, and this is the kind of thing we'd need to do if we really wanted to get on it as far as management goes. But let me talk for a minute about the council and where we're at with the council, because that's been another angle on all of this. And this is my seat at the council table recently. Justin on one side, Pat Stevenson on the other. I mean, we have the tribes involved. We've got all of the federal agencies that are land managers, all of the state agencies, and the counties are represented. So this is, as far as government goes, this is, in my opinion, this is good government. This is the best we can do as government, is put our heads together and make sure that we're all looking at the data that we all have and comparing it and really making better decisions as a group than we would as individuals. So the council has been just a great experience for me. I love it. It's been one of the best experiences of my life, because this is really what it's all about. It's trying to use our brains and use our abilities as Homo sapiens on this planet. It's one species, really. Just imagine if we still had a couple of different species of Homo. What if Homo erectus was still around, you know? Imagine the racism we'd have then. But anyway, this is us all working together, and this is what we need to do, right? This is what our country needs to do. This is what the world needs to do. So that's where we're at. But the things that we can do when we get together like that in a group really are pretty amazing. And this is really where it comes down to taking all the data, and this is where we never had this ability before. So as a human species, we now have computer technology as a tool, and it's been during our lifetime that we've gotten this, right? I mean, when I was in college even, we didn't have computers. It's amazing to think. I typed papers on a typewriter, I had a Corona Deluxe or whatever it was. So basically, it's an amazing time we're in, right? The data and the ability to look at data, analyze it on a geographic setting, and having the ability to store things on, you know, basically wherever it is on the planet, you can start to log and track the story of whatever's going on there. So that's really what we have in terms of ability. So take that now and model. You can try to develop models, look at what would happen if this species were to not be managed. We can model that, right? We couldn't do that before. These are all really cool new tools that we have that we need to be using and leveraging. And the council and all of our agencies, that's the role of government, really, is to make this stuff make sense and to make sure that we're not missing anything. So that's really the most advantage in terms of managing this problem, manage any invasive species problem within our state. That's the advantage we have. If we have good government that works together, we're on the same page, and we're really trying to make the most of all the data that we have and then move ahead in the right direction. But really what it comes down to is the site. Each of us really has to do our part.
You've got 1 minute.
Okay, I'm there. So basically, you know, this is another angle that we have as the council, is to really make sure we rally the troops and make sure that we're paying attention to the kids. You know, we gotta get them when they're young and make sure they understand that, you know, this is a fragile place we live in, and we really need to take better care of it. So it starts with your own yard or wherever you can get out and make a difference, but then, you know, from there, it can turn into a career, right? So it's great. I think that we just need to do a better job as a group. I mean, everyone listening here today is passionate about the environment. I have no doubt about that, and that's the reason you're here. And I want to thank you all for that, and I commend you. And I want to make sure that we all do a better job of spreading the word. So that's all I have, and let's get on with the talks today. We've got some really great talks. I'm looking forward to hearing all of them. Thanks to all of our speakers, and Alexis, thank you for your ability to manage us. I'm looking at you. Am I looking at you? Okay. Right.
Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you for those inspiring words. And how exciting is it for everybody to be here?